Hi folks, good afternoon. The subject of my talk today is related to environmental issues. In this realm, there are growing concerns regarding plastic waste disposal and global warming. I'm going to show you that those two issues are somehow interconnected, and possible consequences of global warming to the environment could be devastating. First main point that I would like to address in my talk is related to long-term use of non-renewable resources for manufacturing of consumer goods and the way our society handles its waste disposal. Since early times, human societies need raw materials to fulfill their basic needs. We all know that. In this regard, we must comply that our society for more than a century has been depleting natural resources to fulfill our needs in terms of energy and manufacturing of consumer goods. Unfortunately, such raw materials may come either from renewable or non-renewable resources. Renewable can be defined as a natural resource that can be restored with time, either through biological reproduction or any other naturally recurring processes. That's a kind of earth metabolism, let's put it like that. Examples, we have wood, paper, which are products from biomass or cellulose. They are all renewable, and so they can be reprocessed by nature without any problem. On the other hand, we have commodities derived from fossil fuels, such as plastics from petroleum. They are considered as non-renewable, as they cannot be restored by nature back into their basic constituents. However, petroleum is the most plentiful feedstock, not only to produce energy, but also for manufacturing of consumer goods. Today, petroleum is the most common feedstock for manufacturing of plastics. There are many examples of plastics we use on a daily basis. Typically, they are made of long macromolecules, hydrocarbons, carbon and hydrogen, and plastics in general are cheap materials, commodities, and can be found in a variety of applications such as home appliances, electronics, toys, car parts, and etc. You can name it, lots of applications of plastics in our daily lives. Just to put some figures here, the world average demand for plastics today is about 30 kilograms per capita per year, compared to about 100 kilograms per capita per year in Western Europe, North America, and Japan. If in the long term, let's say by the year 2050, the world demand for plastics matches the Western standards, the annual production may jump from the actual 250 million tons to about 850 million tons a year. It means a factor of 3.5. That's assuming a population of 9.5 billion people by the year 2050, according to US Census Bureau. Well, because of that, the problems associated with plastic disposal are becoming a very big issue. There is a huge area in Western Pacific called the Big Pacific Patch. That's approximately 700 million square meters that's been completely taken by plastic waste disposal due to ocean streams forming a vortex in the area. Plastics threatens to marine life can no longer be disregarded. It's a real problem. Also, today every country struggles to divert plastic waste streams from municipal landfills. However, statistics show that even in developed countries, recycling of plastics are less than 20%, and its bulk is still being dumped and buried in landfills along with home garbage. Problem here is that plastics, which are made out of petroleum, don't usually decompose like other organic materials, paper, wood, and cotton, and etc. They will last hundreds of years in the environment without decomposing. The result is a huge environmental impact with pollution of land, water, and the air. In this case, if we try to burn it, it's even worse. Public campaigns to break petrochemical lobbies and incentive the 3 R's that I mean by reduction, reuse, and recycle plastics must be considered by society in order to minimize the impacts of plastic waste disposal. Another partial solution to this equation could be to produce bioplastics using renewable feedstocks such as corn, sugarcane, cellulose, and etc. In Brazil, commodity bioplastics are now being produced successfully by local companies using ethanol from sugarcane instead of petroleum. Now it comes to the second point that I would like to draw your attention in my talk, on how the use of those non-renewable resources are somehow linked to the global warming. Well, to produce plastics, we need energy to crack down the crude oil and generate hydrocarbons, which are the essential building blocks for making the plastics. By doing so, we are contributing in some extent to increase the greenhouse effect. Plastics from petroleum are not only polluting the environment with the waste disposal, but yet leaving behind the so-called carbon footprints, which contribute to the greenhouse effect as well. Global warming is a very hot issue in our times, literally hot. We can feel it, it's hot. Global warming is related to increasing average temperatures on Earth's surface due to the greenhouse effect that's caused by the excess of gases such as carbon dioxide and methane in the atmosphere. The greenhouse gases, they entrap the heat in the atmosphere and bounces back to the Earth's surface, the radiation, the sun radiation that should escape to this space. That's why we are hot. The greenhouse effect as well can be a result of either natural causes or emissions by industrial processes. That's subject of many studies today on climate change. Some time ago, Swedish scientist named Svante Arrhenius, he was a Nobel Prize in chemistry by the year of 1903. He was the first person to associate the combustion of fossil fuels with the increase of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. He said that any doubling of the percentage of CO2 in the atmosphere would raise the temperature of the Earth's surface by 4 degrees Celsius. Likewise, carbon dioxide, if the carbon dioxide were increased by 4-fold, the temperature would rise by about 8 degrees Celsius. Recent studies on climate change based on modern instrumentations have confirmed that Arrhenius' predictions were really indeed very accurate. Data on CO2 concentration show that values started at about 280 parts per million by volume in the pre-industrial era, rising to about 370 parts per million in the year 2000, and in the middle of the last year, 2013, it already passed 400 parts per million. Likewise, peaks of temperatures have been recorded over the last 2 and 3 decades. Heat waves and glacial fronts are getting very common. As a result of that, scientists acknowledge that consequences of global warming on climate change can be really devastating. I have talked about 2 very important environmental issues in our times. That's plastic waste disposal and global warming. And I try to make some correlations between them. There is no other way to reduce the pollution caused by plastics disposal and minimize the disturbing effects of global warming without steering away from overuse of non-renewable fossil fuels. We must consider a gradual transition to a more sustainable green economy, as the consequences of global warming for future generations could be devastating. Thanks a lot for your audience. See you. Bye-bye.